Okay, I'll call the meeting to order as it's now 8:30 and for once we're starting on time, maybe 30 seconds late. Welcome to everybody here, and I guess we'll have a bigger crowd in a little while when we open up for the main part of the meeting. But first we'll do a roll call. You know, we need to do the pledge of allegiance and all that. Okay, let's do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States
And just
to the republic which stands
one
one
nation
nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That wasn't on the agenda. I almost forgot it. Would you give us an invitation, please?
We will. Father God, Lord, I come to you and I thank you so much, Lord, for this day. I thank you for giving all of us safe travels to get here, and I just ask, God, you give us safe travels home. I pray, Father, that we keep you in mind as we conduct business here this morning and look to protect our livestock industries. Give us wisdom, give us insight in what we need to do. I pray that everything that we do and say, Father, is pleasing to you. In your precious, holy, and most powerful name, I pray. Amen.
Next, we have a roll call. You want to call the roll, Lynn? I don't, it's in the book.
Yeah.
I didn't open the book.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Do not know who your commissioners are?
Yeah, right, okay, I'll now call the roll. Coleman Luck, Chairman is present. Jimmy Ruth Evans.
Present.
Melanie Johnson.
Present.
Ken Jordan. Present. Barrett Klein.
Here.
Wendy Payne.
Here.
Joe Leather.
Here.
Thomas Otis.
Present.
Joe Osterkel. Here. TJ Klein.
Here.
Benjamin Turner.
Here.
Johnny Trotter.
Here.
Kingman Sturgis.
Yeah.
And we're 100%, everyone here is present and accounted for. Thank you all for being here. It's have a full house. The next item on the agenda is so since we don't have to act on the absences of any commission members, will be closed executive session to receive legal advice, discuss pending or contemplated litigation and settlement offers as permitted by section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, and a closed session to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, discipline, or dismissal of specific commission employees as permitted by section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. The commission will reconvene in open session no earlier than 9 o'clock. So we'll now go into executive session and excuse you all, and we appreciate your attendance and look forward to having you all back in a minute. Okay, we're back in open session. The executive session adjourned at 9:03 a.m. and there's no action to be taken on anything that was discussed in the executive session. We did evaluate Dr. Dinges, and I'm happy to say that we love Dr. Dinges and hope he stays with us for a lot longer. The next item on the agenda will be approval of the minutes of the 426th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of the 426 commission meeting.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any comments or questions? Not all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed by no. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the report of Executive Director Dinges.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. It's certainly my pleasure to give my report to you all this morning. I'll start out by giving an update on the agency operations and affairs. First, we'll discuss the employees survey. The Texas Animal Health Commission has partnered with the University of Texas Institute for Organizational Excellence to launch the survey of employment engagement for 2026. This was distributed to the employees on February the 23rd and will close on March the 13th. The survey will assist leadership for strategic planning and provide information regarding the organization's effectiveness and employee satisfaction. The survey framework includes areas such as communication, supervision, quality, team, pay, training, diversity, ethics, management, engagement, and technology. In my report in the past, I've also given updates on the veterinary education loan repayment programs, both the Rural Veterinary Incentive Program, which is a state-funded program, and then also the Veterinary Medical Loan Payment Program, which is federally funded. We're fortunate that Rex Wyatt, our authorized personnel program supervisor, will give you a detailed report later on in today's meeting. So with that being said, wanted to kind of to update you on some things that have been going on here at the agency. Obviously, the latter part of November and into the month of December were quite busy time as far as animal disease response here for the agency. Beginning the day that we had our last commission meeting here in November, we started our response to a very large equine herpes and equine herpes myeloencephalopathy outbreak here in the state of Texas. I've got the disease etiologies there listed in the report, and you can certainly look at those, but I just wanted to give you kind of a recap of what the first 24 to 48 hours looked like in that response. So the Texas Animal Health Commission Stephenville region management began to receive reports from equine practitioners about horses showing clinical signs of equine herpes myeloencephalopathy. In the early morning hours of November the 18th, the Stephenville region management and epidemiology staff continued to gather information while our commission meeting was in progress that day. We met with the region staff at the conclusion of the commission meeting to discuss the situation and to begin our disease response. Later that morning, we did receive a report from Dr. Rod Hall, the Oklahoma State veterinarian, that a horse that had competed at a large barrel racing event in Guthrie, Oklahoma, that week was now showing clinical signs of equine herpes myeloencephalopathy, and the horse was in isolation and being treated at the Oklahoma State College of Veterinary Medicine. That event there in Oklahoma was ultimately canceled that week. We worked with the horse owners and veterinarians to identify what turned out to be, or what was considered to be, the index event. We contacted the event sponsor to gather information, including a list of the contestants, and inquired about biosecurity protocols that they had in place. We began disease confirmation investigations and epidemiologic tracing. We quickly began to contact contestants and state veterinarians with potential animal movements. At that time, I notified Dr. Collins, the USDA Texas area veterinary in charge, and also the Office of the Governor to apprise them of the situation. Given the time of the year, I also reached out to the state veterinarian in Nevada and in Arizona. That time of year, there are a large number of team roping events there in northern Arizona, and then the following week begins the National Finals Rodeo there in Las Vegas, and there are also a large number of equestrian events, team ropings, and junior rodeo events that are held in and around the city of Las Vegas at the very first part of December. So we wanted to convey to them, and we were worried about some of these horses that had been in the index, or the index event that we'll talk about in just a second, may make their way to those states. So we also consulted with the San Antonio Livestock Show and Rodeo to offer suggestions of either postponing or canceling their PRCA rodeo qualifying event. We didn't know, we knew that we were dealing with a virulent strain of equine herpes virus, and wanted them to exercise all the precautions in that area. So we held a call with the National Assembly of State Animal Health officials on November the 19th to update them on the situation. So we determined that the index event was the WPRA World Finals and Elite Barrel Race event held in Waco, November the 5th through November the 9th. The event had 670 contestants, with 497 being from Texas and 173 of those being from 30 states and four Canadian provinces. There was no index case presented at the event, which made this disease process kind of hard to manage here. So the Texas Animal Health Commission team members began to contact contestants to place known positive horses under quarantine and exposed horses under hold orders and provide enhanced biosecurity practices for the premises. Outreach included to exposed horses, equine awareness letter, a hold order, and biosecurity guidance for that premises. Event sponsors, we were putting out recommendation letters and guidance document for them. Public facing notifications and outreach. We had press releases. The Equine Disease Communications Center, we updated that. Social media outreach, and we are also conducting several media interviews during this time period. We also circulated information to authorized veterinarians and provided them with guidance documents. Dr. Monday will share more details about this outbreak later in today's meeting. So I do want to say thanks to the staff here, both in the central office and the field staff, the region staff. They worked through the long Thanksgiving Day holiday weekend and never took time off. Maybe Thanksgiving Day they took some time off, but they worked through this process through that weekend and into December. Yes, sir.
I'd like to say that, I don't know if everybody here knows this, but that was a big event, and that happened right before the National Finals Rodeo, which is huge. And if you went to the National Finals Rodeo, because of Dr. Dinges' leadership and the group that all got together and straightened it out, and I know you had a big part in it, you wouldn't have even known the difference, except for the fact that the grand entry was not anybody nothing but people walking. There were no horses in there. So they took all kind of measures to keep these horses separated and to go on and have the event. And it was all great. And I want to give you credit for leading the way on that, because it was a big deal and it worked out beautifully.
Well, thank you. We had several conversations with Dr. Rolfe there in Nevada, the state veterinarian, and then the veterinarian associated with the National Finals Rodeo and the management of the National Finals Rodeo. We kept them apprised of the situation throughout the outbreak. So definitely wanted to protect that equine athletes that were participating there. Now, yes, sir.
Excuse me, out of 400 something horses, how many positives do we end up with?
I think there were 40 something. Dr. Monday will go into that in her report. I think there ended up being over 40 positive horses. So you bet. The bad part about it, there were a lot of events that were having unknown positive horses were still competing and exposing other horses. So we'll get into that later on in the meeting here. So sorry, you bet. So moving into the month of December, we had HPA, high path avian influenza, diagnosed in a commercial poultry premises there in Shelby County. On December 11th, 2025, Texas Animal Health Commission responded to a high path avian influenza positive broiler flock there in Shelby County. This was our third commercial flock since the current outbreak started in February of 2022. The index premises contained 12 houses and just over 265,000 birds. This response was at the opposite end of the spectrum from our infected premises of laying hens in Palmer County in April of 2024. This being based off of the density of commercial and backyard poultry in the premises, in the control area, as well as the surveillance zone in and around that premises. The control area and the surveillance zone contains 6 different commercial poultry companies, 56 commercial premises, 30 backyard flocks that were identified and contacted, and there were 92 commercial premises identified in the surveillance zone. The disease mitigation process completed on February the 2nd of this year when environmental sampling was done. The grower is working through the USDA's biosecurity compliance audit program to make required changes prior to restocking. Dr. Lanchford will give a little bit more detail on this response during his presentation coming up. So I wanted to touch on bovine tuberculosis in Texas. Bovine tuberculosis continues to be an issue in Texas. We currently have 2 dairies and 1 beef herd undergoing various stages of annual assurance testing. In fiscal year 2025, we had 2 slaughter traces traced back to 1 Texas dairy and 1 to Texas beef herd. The dairy was confirmed TB infected in May of 2025 and is currently undergoing testing and removal. The beef herd has now undergone 2 whole herd tests and no TB infection was identified in the herd. In fiscal year 2026, a TB positive dairy cow was found at slaughter and was traced back to a large Texas dairy. The dairy recently signed the testing agreement and will begin herd assessment testing on February the 27th. A second TB positive cow was detected at slaughter and traced back to a Texas dairy. 2 more TB positive cows were discovered at slaughter from the same dairy, and the USDA classified the dairy as TB affected. The dairy has just completed its first whole herd assessment test. Tissue samples have been collected and submitted from responders, and the results are pending at the National Veterinary Services Diagnostic Lab. Dr. Monday will provide more details on this in her report coming up. Now on the national update, as far as cattle fever ticks go, we have cattle fever tick treatment field trial dealing with the prenamectin. This program or project was appropriated $316,000 by the 88th legislature here in Texas, and an additional $30,000 was added to the base budget of the Texas Animal Health Commission for this biennium to complete this project. The series of research projects seek to evaluate whether repeated dose regimens of injectable prenamectin can be used effectively control cattle fever tick infestations in areas with high tick pressure due to infested wildlife exposure. I've got detailed summaries of each of those projects in the report, and I just wanted to update you on the next couple of phases of this project. While the research into the effectiveness of proposed repeat dosing regimens continues, we will work to evaluate the residue levels created by this use. That project has begun. The prenamectin residue study is designed to determine the prenamectin B1A residue levels in multiple tissues following multiple doses of injectable prenamectin. This study is being done by the Texas A&M University Department of Animal Science and collaborators who will incorporate findings into the food animal residue avoidance database model to determine withdrawal recommendations associated with repeat dosings of prenamectin. This contracted study will run for a minimum of 280 days and will be done in College Station by the Texas A&M University researchers. The 25 study animals were purchased in November of 2025 and have finished a period of acclimation to research environment while growing to the target body weight of 500 to 600 pounds. The primary investigator has submitted animal use protocols to the University Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee for consideration. Preparations have been made so the study can start once the IACUC approval is received. The targeted conclusions of the data collection in December 2026. The planning and preparation for the final research trial in the series has begun. Researchers intend to use conditions at the Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge to further evaluate indicated multi-dose of prenamectin treatment protocols in a population of cattle managed to mimic common practices in South Texas. Plans, collaboration agreements, and study protocols will be finalized once the analysis of combined Moorfield data is complete. We talked about the Rio Bravo buffer zone before. The USDA, APHIS, Sedera, Seneca, and the Mexican states of Tamaulipas and Coahuila work cooperatively to establish cattle fever tick buffer zone with focused pilot project areas along the Rio Grande, mirroring the permanent quarantine zone in Texas. The USDA allocated approximately $150,000 US to contribute to the project in 2025. The second phase ran from October 2024 to September 2025, and the USDA asked that there be an increase in wildlife surveillance during this time period. At the conclusion of the project for 2025, Coahuila had inspected and treated 9,451 head on 109 production units with low tick infestations being reported. Many of those inspections reported no infestations at all. No wildlife was inspected or treated in Coahuila during this time period. At the conclusion of the project for 2025, Tamaulipas reported 12,450 head of cattle were inspected and treated on 21 production units. Tamaulipas reported that no ticks were noted on cattle inspections and that no tick infestations were found on white-tailed deer that had been harvested. I'll update you on the Asian longhorn tick. Excuse me. The monthly update responsibilities related to the Asian longhorn tick have been transitioned from the United States Department of Agriculture, Animal Plant Health and Inspection Service to the Medical and Veterinary Entomology team at the University of Tennessee. To date, the Asian longhorn tick has been discovered in 25 states and Washington, D.C., with the latest state being New Hampshire. The tick has been found in northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas. Affected states continue to use producer education and outreach to mitigate the risk of introductions. The 89th legislature did fund the Texas Animal Health Commission exceptional item request for the next biennium to produce additional equipment and personnel to increase foreign pest surveillance more broadly throughout Texas by establishing a Texas Animal Health Commission ectoparasite field identification laboratory. The application and interview process for an entomologist is underway. Interviews are to be held March 3rd and 4th, and we hope to have the position filled by April 1st. Now on to the New World Screwworm update. So to update you what's going on in Mexico, as of February 21st, Seneca reports 16,032 total cases of New World Screwworms, with 695 of those cases being considered active. To date, the northernmost case has been found just 70 miles south of the Texas-U.S. border in Sabinas Hidalgo, Nuevo Leon. This case was reported on September 21st of 2025. On December 26, 2025, Seneca reported a New World Screwworm infestation in a 6-day-old calf, approximately 198 miles from the southern border in Tamaulipas, Mexico. Prior to that, from the last commission meeting in November to the discovery of the calf at Tamaulipas, approximately 40 cases were reported in the state of Veracruz, just to the south of the state of Tamaulipas. As the cases associated with animal movements continue to be discovered in northern Mexico, spread of the adult New World Screwworm fly continues to the northwest, with cases now being found in the states of Estado de Mexico and San Luis Potosí in the last few months. Since the first case in December of 2025, Tamaulipas now has 29 total cases being reported. Sterile New World Screwworm fly dispersal polygons have been adjusted to cover this activity. In all, New World Screwworm cases have been reported in 19 Mexican states, and it appears that 13 states in southern and eastern Mexico have established adult New World Screwworm fly populations. It was reported over the weekend that a case was found 184 miles south of the U.S. border there in Tamaulipas in a 3-year-old bovine. Now for the USDA response. On November the 13th, and we discussed this at the last commission meeting in November. November the 13th, USDA announced the opening of a sterile fly dispersal facility in Tampico, Mexico. The Tampico, Mexico will allow the USDA to disperse sterile flies aerially across northeastern Mexico, including Nuevo Leon. Due to the discovery of New World Screwworms in Tamaulipas in late December, the USDA began to release sterile flies north of the current active New World Screwworm cases in Mexico in a proactive effort to create a sterile reproduction buffer zone. If the fly moves north from Mexico, releasing sterile flies just outside of the affected areas helps ensure flies traveling to new areas will only encounter sterile males and will not be able to reproduce. On the evening of January the 30th, Undersecretary Hoskins reached out to inform me that they were again adjusting the dispersal polygon to include operations about 50 miles into Texas, along the U.S. border with the state of Tamaulipas, Mexico. Flights began on February 9th. Dispersal flights will originate from Tampico, Mexico for now. There will be 8 flights per week. The pupae originating and the flies originating from Tampico will be dyed orange. And we'll talk about the Moore Air Base Dispersal Center in just a minute. And they're going to dye those pupae and flies green that will be dispersed out of that facility. The flies will be dispersed over Starr, Hidalgo, Cameron, and Willacy counties. The distribution will also include parts of Zapata, Jim Hogg, Brooks, and Kennedy counties as well. The adjustment will require that 57 of the 101 New World screwworm surveillance traps be relocated to counties to the north of the dispersal polygon. Up until February the 2nd, the USDA Cattle Fever Tick Eradication Program, the USDA APHIS Veterinary Services, and the Texas Animal Health Commission managed 101 traps deployed in 8 Texas counties from Brownsville to Del Rio. As of February the 17th, 4,656 individual flies have been submitted to the National Veterinary Services Lab and from the trapping efforts in South Texas. 40,393 of these flies have been confirmed as negative or not New World screwworm flies by National Veterinary Services Laboratory. The remaining balance is in the process of being identified there now. The USDA also has New World screwworm fly surveillance traps deployed along the U.S.-Mexico border in New Mexico, where they have 5 traps deployed. The state of Arizona, they have 7 traps deployed. In the state of California, they have 8 traps deployed, in addition to what we have deployed here in the state of Texas. USDA New World screwworm response playbook was distributed on Friday, October the 17th. From October the 27th through October 29th, the USDA conducted listening sessions for the National Association of State Department of Agriculture's, as well as the National Association of State Animal Health, National Assembly of State Animal Health officials, and also the livestock and wildlife industries. The New World screwworm response playbook is a draft document, and comments can be submitted to the USDA via email. There are multiple guidance documents associated with the USDA's New World screwworm response playbook, with several of those documents still being drafted. The USDA National Preparedness Incident Command Team has also held listening sessions with different industry groups over the last few months to address any comments or concerns that were submitted in response to the New World screwworm playbook. The USDA is planning to release a revised version of the playbook early this spring. Now to let you know what's happening with the domestic dispersal facility there at Moore Air Base in Mission, Texas. Construction of the $8.5 million domestic dispersal facility at Moore Air Base has been completed. Secretary Rollins and Governor Abbott hosted a ribbon cutting ceremony on February the 9th. This facility will be capable of processing up to 100 million sterile New World screwworm flies per week, representing a significant expansion of our dispersal capacity and geographic range. The facility received 40 liters of pupae from COPEG for training and demonstration purposes initially. The pupae processed at Moore Air Base were released by truck around the facility on February the 10th in order to validate the release process and evaluate insect quality under operational conditions. Data collected from the ground dispersal will further support dispersal center processes and enable the team to refine procedures as operations scale up in that facility. The domestic production facility. The newly formed USDA APHIS New World screwworm Directorate continues to work closely with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on planning for the domestic production facility. The domestic facility, with a projected production capacity of 300 million sterile flies per week, will work in tandem with facilities in Panama as well as Mexico. The Directorate hopes to award construction contracts for this facility in March. On November 21st, the USDA launched a new unified New World screwworm website. Screwworm.gov has targeted resources for a wide range of stakeholders, including livestock producers, veterinarians, animal health officials, wildlife professionals, healthcare providers, pet owners, researchers, drug manufacturers, and the general public. It also has the latest USDA verified information on cases and response activities in Mexico and U.S. preparedness efforts. USDA is leading an aggressive whole government response to protect the nation's livestock, wildlife, and public health from New World screwworms. The U.S. One Health Coordination Unit for New World screwworms, co-led by the USDA, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Department of Interior, is actively working to ensure the United States is prepared should New World screwworms be detected here. Screwworm.gov includes information from these partner agencies, as well as the following collaborative agencies: the Food and Drug Administration, the Department of Energy, the Department of Homeland Security, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Department of State. Now for the Texas response. On January 29th, Governor Greg Abbott issued a statewide disaster declaration to better equip the Texas New World Screwworm response team to prevent potential spread of New World Screwworm fly into Texas and to better protect the livestock and wildlife. The declaration authorizes the use of all available resources of state government and all political subdivisions that are reasonably necessary to cope with this disaster, and temporarily reassign such resources that have been or could be allocated to address the spread of New World Screwworms to the New World Screwworm Response Team headed by the Texas Animal Health Commission and Texas Parks and Wildlife. With the northern movement of aerial New World Screwworm fly dispersal polygon, the northern trap line will be set 15 kilometers north of the dispersal grid. The Texas Animal Health Commission will manage 18 New World Screwworm surveillance traps in Webb County, 10 of those being new traps, 6 in Jim Hogg County, 10 in Brooks County, and 9 in Kennedy County. The Texas Animal Health Commission continues our New World Screwworm planning and preparedness activities. Our weekly and bi-weekly communication coordination collaboration calls are ongoing. Internal and external working groups continue to work on response plans focusing on animal movement control, treatment, and surveillance. The Texas Animal Health Commission Emergency Management Team held a one-day New World Screwworm field response training for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension and Texas Parks and Wildlife personnel on December the 15th in San Antonio, Texas. The incident management team has been working on details of command structure and staffing of roles for all levels of response. They're also working closely with the Texas Parks and Wildlife to do the same on their end. They're in the process of planning a compliance checkpoint exercise for New World Screwworm response. They're keeping the Emergency Management Council updated on current status and planning efforts. And they're working, the emergency management staff is also working with the Department of State Health Services on training for county and municipal animal control officers. Education and outreach efforts to raise awareness continue to be conducted. We continue to participate in New World Screwworm producer and veterinary education meetings in both in-state and around the nation. We also accept every opportunity to present New World Screwworm, present on New World Screwworm at county government and county emergency management meetings. Texas Animal Health Commission staff continues to meet with smaller industry groups to discuss the USDA New World Screwworm response playbook and go over what response efforts will look like and address each group's comments and concerns with the response playbook, as well as Texas Animal Health Commission's response in conjunction with some of the USDA National Preparedness and Incident Coordination staff. We hope to complete these meetings by early March. Work with the Texas Parks and Wildlife, both individually via weekly coordination calls and through the Texas Screwworm Response Team, is ongoing. The Texas Animal Health Commission and Texas Parks and Wildlife New World Response Team, with the mission to amplify New World Screwworm preparedness in Texas and serve as a central hub for coordinating information, aligning strategies, and delivering resources to support prevention, detection, control, and eradication efforts. The response team held its first meeting in September of 2025. We hope to schedule a second meeting in March or April shortly after the USDA releases the New World Screwworm Playbook revisions. Texas Animal Health Commission continues to update and distribute producer guidance documents. Since the reported case in Nuevo Leon in September of 2025, Texas Animal Health Commission has increased communication efforts with both emergency management personnel and livestock deputies in numerous South Texas counties. We've also increased awareness among South Texas livestock market owners and management. Dr. Lanchard and I continue to correspond with our National Assembly of State Animal Health Officials, New World Screwworm Working Group, as well as the Great Plains Regional New World Screwworm Working Group to address continuity of business and better harmonize the region's livestock movements during a New World Screwworm infestation. An update on what the FDA is doing. On August 18th, the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary issued a declaration of emergency pursuant to the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act for New World Screwworm. This declaration, the first step under the statute, authorizes the Food and Drug Administration to issue emergency use authorizations for animal drugs for prevention or treatment of New World Screwworm myiasis. The FDA is continuing to work at full steam to bring additional products to market as part of the coordinated USDA response. I'm going to go through some of the drugs that they've approved I will mention a few that deal with companion animals, just to be complete. So on December the 4th, the USDA Food and Drug Administration conditionally approved Exalt Cattle CA1, a topical solution for the prevention and treatment of New World screwworm larval infestations. Also the treatment and control of cattle fever ticks in beef cattle 2 months of age and older, and replacement dairy heifers less than 20 months of age. To prevent unsafe drug residues and meat from treating cattle with and ensure human food safety, the slaughter withdrawal period for Exalt is 98 days. And I commend the USDA. They worked in the last couple of weeks to lower the withdrawal time period on that. They now have it labeled if cattle are continuously exposed to temperatures at or above 60 degrees Fahrenheit after product administration, the cattle may be slaughtered for human consumption at 44 days after treatment. So I applaud the FDA in their efforts to lower that withdrawal period for the Exalt product. On December the 17th, the USDA Food and Drug Administration conditionally approved Credello Quattro, a chewable tablet for the treatment of infestations caused by New World screwworms larvae in dogs and puppies at least 8 weeks of age and weighing at least 3.3 pounds. Credello Quattro is already approved by the FDA for various flea and tick and internal parasite related indications in both dogs and puppies. Another drug that they just approved for food animals or cattle specifically on February the 5th, the US FDA issued for Ivermectin injectable solution against the New World screwworm, or issued emergency use authorization for Ivermectin injectable solution against New World screwworm. The agency concluded that based on the scientific evidence available, it is reasonable to believe that Ivermectin may be effective for the prevention of infestations caused by New World screwworm larvae in cattle when administered within 24 hours of birth, at the time of castration, or when a wound appears. And the known and potential benefits of the product outweigh its known and potential risks. Just to bring up another couple of small animal products that were approved on February 18th, 2 emergency use authorizations, one for NexGard, chewable tablets for treatment of New World screwworm infestations in dogs were approved for emergency use authorization. And then the second NexGard combo was for the treatment of myiasis in cats. So in addition to the emergency use authorizations, the NexGard chewable tablets and the FDA approved the flea and tick related indications for dog and puppies. The NexGard combo topical solution is FDA approved for flea and ticks and internal parasites related in cats and kittens. So just wanted to mention those companion animal drugs that they've been approving. Hopefully that will pave the way for other products to be approved for potential use in livestock. So the Texas Animal Health Commission continues to correspond with the FDA on a regular basis concerning New World screwworm prevention, control, and treatment. We have a monthly recurring meeting with the FDA to include Texas A&M's Dr. Philip Kaufman and Dr. D. Ellis every third Thursday of the month. Now on to high-path avian influenza. I'll just give you a brief update about cases and birds affected there. Since the outbreak started in February of 2022, over 190 million birds have been affected in the U.S. 2,088 premises in 50 states and Puerto Rico, with 1,271 considered wild poultry and 817 considered wild non-poultry. Texas has had 20 total HPA positive premises since February of 2022, including 3 commercial flocks totaling just over 2,151,000 birds. The latest infection being a WOA non-poultry case in Carson County in January of 26. Now to discuss the livestock HPAI cases since March of 2024. Texas has had 20 states nationally have been affected, 1,090 confirmed premises. To date, Texas has had 30 premises, both in the Panhandle and Stephenville milk sheds, The last known positive premise showing clinical signs here in Texas was in December of 2024, located in the Panhandle Milk Shed. There were 2 premises that tested positive in May of 2025 and 1 tested positive in September of 25. Those samples were bank samples that were from March of 2024. And those premises were seeking the USDA's livestock assisted program payments. They needed to prove that the premises had positive cattle at one time during the program dates. So I've got the USDA National Milk Testing Strategy objectives and the National Milk Testing Strategy stages listed there in the report. Just wanted to update you. Texas began the National Milk Testing Strategy on April 7th of 2025 by conducting plant silo monitoring. The Department of State Health Services administers the pasteurized milk ordinance established by the FDA and is conducting silo sampling for us here in Texas. Samples are collected every 4 to 5 weeks. There are on average 168 enrolled silos in Texas on each testing round. And this data was collected through February the 9th. On average, there are 81 to 102 silos qualified for sampling or testing each round. This data was compiled at the conclusion of week 45 of testing, February the 9th through the 15th. Silos may be exempt from testing for various reasons, such as silo was empty, silo doesn't meet sampling minimums, doesn't contain grade A fluid milk, or it was skipped, which was rare due to either the weather or the inspector scheduling. We are currently on the 11th round of testing here in Texas. There have been 918 samples submitted to date. Texas Animal Health Commission has not been made aware of any positive silos. So that is certainly good news. Dr. Monday will give a more in-depth report on the National Milk Testing Strategy here in Texas in her comments later on in the meeting. You can see there that we've got the waivers and variances, Chairman, which are an action item, and I will certainly answer any questions about the report I just gave.
Okay, any questions on the waivers and variances?
What's the confidence level at this point on the plant actually? I know there have been some issues with the core, maybe have not moved fast enough and things. Where do you feel comfortable zoning as a digital actually beginning to dig dirt if we have final plans for a plant?
So we were down there at the beginning of February. I think they had identified 3 or 4 different footprints for the production facility. And then our BNC called yesterday. They said that the contracts are being approved and hopefully will be awarded in March. So I think hopefully 12 months to 18 months, they'll maybe have 100 million sterile flies being produced. And then we'll morph into 300 million flies over time.
Still be cobalt use, like that.
Yes, sir.
I knew some new technologies, 100 million.
Right.
Where
I think
the deadline was yesterday, I think.
that was the grand challenge. Yes, sir.
Right.
I know they're looking at all sorts of different ways to help mitigate the New World screwworms through that program. But I think this is high priority on the Secretary's agenda, obviously, and we're thankful that she found the money to appropriate for the production facility. I know, the government, they only go so fast, I guess, and hopefully there's lots of government agencies that are working on this, and hopefully it's high priority, and I believe, it's top priority for her, and then she will see it through to fruition. So, any other questions or comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Dinges. Do I hear a motion to approve the waivers and variances?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the waiver and request and variances as presented today.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the waivers and variances. Any questions or further discussion? Not all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed by no. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda will be a field animal health program and disease traceability report from Dr. T. Orlando. Morning, sir.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners. It's, Dr. Ninja says it's a pleasure always to provide a few updates and comments. And based on the thoroughness and certainly the length of Dr. Dingis's report, I think that you can tell we have been busy. And so I'm gonna shed some light on just a few things as we go through here and hit some highlights on some specific things. And certainly if you have questions along the way, don't hesitate to, or comments or criticisms or whatever, let me know. So starting off with animal disease traceability, there's the numbers for as typical for what's been happening over the quarters. As you can see, the demand for our no-cost RFID tags for cattle is continues to be strong, and that continues to grow with more distributed over the last quarter than the previous quarter. Our scrapie flock IDs are down just a little bit, but they're holding steady, and I think part of that has to do with just the seasonal where we are in the sheep and goat cycle right now. And so I know we've been getting some more calls back there related to flock IDs. So that'll probably be higher next time we meet and talk about that. So wanted to just mention that we have received our total allotment of RFID tags from USDA for fiscal year 25. They have not announced, at least to my knowledge, what we're going to get for fiscal year 26. But there's no indication that will be any different than what we had been getting. In addition, we got a very large additional allotment for fiscal year 25, and we have received all of those tags as well. So all of that said, I didn't put in specific numbers, but we have a very large inventory of RFID tags ready to be distributed to cattle producers and veterinarians. So hopefully in front of New World screwworms, folks are beginning to think about that and the need for animal disease traceability and the important role that will play in response to all of that, not just in general ID and period, but certainly from a response standpoint, how critical that's going to be. So one other note related to the news tags, the bright tags. We have received all of the news tags, metal clip tags from the Kansas City warehouse and the Austin warehouse. So we've got about 80,000 of those in inventory. That is it for the news tags, at least in terms of what we have on hand to distribute. We'll continue to work with the markets that are using those primarily only for intrastate. Let me say it that way. Intrastate movement of those adult cattle. But once those are gone, they're gone, and we'll have to consider other options at that point. So that's kind of where we are with tag numbers. In addition, we have there's been some movement on the swine EID. There's a program, a grant that was put together by USDA with Allflex/Merck to provide no-cost RFID or EID tags to swine producers, and they're really looking at the commercial type or the non-integrated, the smaller producers, the show pig exhibitors, those types of raisers of hogs to get those animals identified. The website for that is up and operational now, so folks can get on the Merck website and order tags and get those free tags now. So additionally, National Pork Board had received a grant from USDA to provide some readers, electronic readers to, again, target primarily swine exhibitions, what we're working on with them. And we've been a little busy with some other things in the last few months, but I need to, and Lindsay's sitting in here, hope she'll remind me to, we need to recircle that discussion and get back with them. We're trying to get EIDs for all of our major swine exhibitions. And so that'd be the major shows have to use to read validation tags. Additionally, we're working with them to try to see if we can get enough numbers of those readers to provide one for every kid, either to put that in the hands of the AgriLife Extension agent or an ag science teacher somewhere so that it can be used at all the county shows as well. So we're working on that. Hopefully that will advance our efforts. So other outreach related to electronic readers is Matt's doing a good job getting out there and working with our accredited and authorized veterinarians to continue to get readers into their hands. We've got another batch of readers ordered, and hopefully they'll be in soon so we can continue that really important work to get those pieces of technology into the hands of the folks that use them. So additionally, our ADT staff continue to participate in industry meetings and opportunities to talk about ADT and distribute tags. Certainly as we move into convention season here in the spring and summer, we'll be in attendance in those events to continue to spread the word about ADT. And again, in front of New World Screwworm, stress the importance of it and hopefully get some more tags out there and get animals identified. So I'd like to again appreciate, as always, the work that the Authorized Personnel Program, Rex, and Communications, Aaron and Bella do to help continue to put the word out about the ADT and the free tags. So moving on to emergency management, as Dr. Dinges indicated, we've had the opportunity to respond to a couple of things, touching on high path avian influenza, and he gave most of this information, but I just wanted to hit on a few things and really stress that this was a response opportunity that was very different than the Parmer response that we had in April of 2024. And Dr. Dinges hit on this, that that was a large facility in terms of number of birds, but there wasn't any commercial around it. This was complete opposite. We had a smaller facility in terms of number of birds, but it was in one of the most poultry production dense areas of the state. And so that was a lot to deal with, and certainly want to thank the poultry industry for their leaning forward on responding and being prepared and getting in shape to rapidly start doing the increased testing and all the things that went with that. So the incident itself incorporated more than 30 of our Animal Health Commission and USDA partners to respond to that event and work through that with the grower and all involved there. As Dr. Dinges mentioned, we found out about it on the 11th of December. By the 12th of December, we had dispatched about 20 people up there to set up an incident command post and start doing surveillance in the control and surveillance areas to identify backyard flocks and other commercial premises, just to make sure that the maps that we had through EMERS and our own maps were current. And so got a lot of that work done very quickly. I appreciate all the support staff that went up there, to include logistical support in terms of IT and staff services to go up there and get all that set up, and also appreciate the help from Shelby County. The local folks there, AgriLife Extension, provided us a place to set up the incident command post as part in one of their rooms in the part of their complex. And so certainly from the county judges level on down, we had a lot of support locally to get this done, and that was much appreciated and certainly made the response go very well. So testing began on the 13th in accordance with requirements in avian influenza response plans and National Poultry Improvement Plan in the face of a high path avian influenza confirmation. And so in total, there were nearly 2,932, and Cindy can correct me if I'm off on my numbers, but 2,932 PCR samples that were tested at TVMDL Center lab during the duration of the outbreak. And so I want to credit Dr. Monday for this slide. This is not exactly geographically accurate, but what it shows is the density and the types of poultry production facilities that were in that area, inside that buffer area that included the buffer zone that included, I'll get it right in a minute, the control area that included infested, pretty much screwworm, infected zone and the buffer zone. So control area, infected zone, and buffer zone. So in total, you can see that we had backyard operator, broiler breeders, broiler breeder pullet operations, breeder production, broiler production. We had some hatcheries in there. We had table egg layers, and we had table egg pullets. So kind of the whole gamut of poultry production in that area. And certainly, again, can't thank the industry enough for all the efforts that they undertook from enhanced biosecurity to help protect themselves, and certainly all the efforts of everybody on the ground. So in terms of some things that go with a high path avian influenza response, there's some milestones, because this was considered a commercial poultry under WOA standards. So certainly there came some trade restrictions associated with that. The first thing that has to be done to get out from under the trade restrictions is accomplishment of virus elimination. That started, as I mentioned, on the 12th, the next day, in terms of the grower getting the birds depopulated within a couple of days there. Disposal completed the day after Christmas, and then cleaning was completed on December the 30th. And so after that, there has to be a wait period, and so that control area was actually released on the 14th of January. So as quickly as we could get all of that worked out, with local contractors and through our staff and USDA that got done so that the trade restrictions could be eased. So after an additional waiting period, the environmental testing piece was conducted by 9 of our staff and USDA on February the 2nd, and we received the final results that all of that was not detected because we don't use the word negative anymore, but not detected on February the 12th. And so that's great news all in total, about 61 days worth of response there. I want to certainly credit and recognize a few folks that were instrumental in that. Donna Holly in the Sulphur Springs region had a number of other staff that traveled up there to East Texas to help conduct the surveillance and do all of that. Certainly want to thank our partners to include Cindy Rosario and Dr. Dimitrov at TVMDL for working through that with us because, again, a lot of this occurred over the Christmas and New Year's holidays. And so there was a lot of extra duties and things that had to happen there to get that pulled off through those holidays. And so appreciate all the support. So, and Commissioner Klein even was spent some days in the ICP, the Incident Command Post as well. So appreciate your support and assistance through all that process as well. So that's, I think, everything I've got on IPATH avian influenza. Appreciate Holly getting these things put together for me to help share with y'all. So other things going on in emergency management, certainly it's been pretty New World Screwworm centric, as you can imagine. They did participate in the Department of Homeland Security New World Screwworm tabletop exercise in El Paso several weeks ago. That was Dr. Dinges and Sarah Aaron Holly that went out there, and there's a few of us that were virtually present as well, listening in. So that was an opportunity for some testing of some communications between the federal, state, and local agencies, and that there was a lot of good conversation there on a number of topics related more to One Health. So the human side of that and some of the environmental piece. So that was a good exercise, kind of eye-opening on the way some folks are thinking about some other things. So in addition to that, Dr. Den just mentioned, but this was, in my opinion, a highly successful event back in December. We had the opportunity to train 150 plus AgriLife extension and research personnel there at the San Antonio Stock Show grounds. And I think that was well received and certainly well put together and delivered. By our staff there to help folks out, because I know that being married to an AgriLife extension agent, I get to hear about all the things that are missing and what information they need. So hopefully that helped answer some questions there, and certainly appreciate all the work that AgriLife is doing to help with everything New World Screwworm response. I'll skip related to the incident management team. Dr. Den just covered that, but we continue to work through some of the very tactical and down in the weeds details to prepare for that. Other outreach and engagement activities, again, updates to emergency management councils, opportunity to address and provide information on New World Screwworms to the Texas Association of Regional Councils. So that's more of a local group or a group of local folks to kind of get them up to speed and what the response may look like, and certainly continue to work with the industry groups to review and refine the playbook. Little good news related to secure food supply planning. The legislature has given us a couple of positions to hire some secure food supply specialists, and we've got those hired. One of them started, Mr. Bruce Chandler, who worked for the agency for a number of years prior and had retired, has come back as one of our secure food supply persons or specialists. And then we've also hired Ms. Rebecca Kemp, and she's going to start in April. So we'll be ramping up to do more in that arena here soon, and certainly thinking about how that applies to potentially New World Screwworms. So other upcoming events is an exercise that Holly and the compliance crew are working on to test some animal movement pieces related to New World Screwworm zones, if we have to put one of those in and look through that. So appreciate all of that work. So I think that's everything I've got on emergency management. Moving on to animal health programs. Again, lots of things going on and some things I realized as I listened to Dr. Dingis's report that I did not get into this list. So I'll try to do better next time about including some other things in here. So we get kind of tied up thinking about new roll screwworms and responses and kind of forget about some of the other things going on sometimes, but certainly lots of work going on. Touch first on some of the region updates in terms of region offices. We did get finalized lease with Texas Facilities Commission to establish a more permanent facility in Willacy County. And there's an expected move-in date, if for lack of a better descriptor, on November the 1st. We're not anticipating that we're going to make that because right now that is a bare lot of ground in Willacy County outside of Raymondville. So we anticipate some delays. We'll just put it that. But it is good news because we're going to be in that business for a while with ectoparasites and certainly need some better facilities, more permanent facilities to continue to conduct that work that we're doing related to cattle fever ticks and maybe new roll screwworms at some point. So the other update related to region offices is we are on track, maybe just a little bit ahead of the schedule, but certainly on track to have the official opening of the Pleasanton region office. So that is the movement of the Beeville office to Pleasanton. Actually, it's in the address is Jourdanton, but we're calling it the Pleasanton region on April 1st. And so along that lines with some staffing updates in terms of region directors, very pleased to announce that we have hired and filled and he has started a region director for the Beeville/Pleasanton region. Dr. Van Wayne Crouch has joined the team, and we're certainly glad to have him on board. He's a 2000 graduate from the College of Vet Med at A&M. So Dr. Crouch and I are classmates, and certainly glad to have him on board, and his calm demeanor and to enter into that mix will be wonderful. So additionally, related to region directors, Dr. Hank Hayes has retired officially at the end of January. He certainly will be missed. He brought a lot of years of practical experience and then years of regulatory service as well, and certainly appreciate all his service over the years and mentorship to me, especially over some things. But we are in the process of doing some interviews for that position. Those will be held on March the 12th in Sulphur Springs. Additionally, after a long period of time, we are actually conducting an interview for the Amarillo region director as well, also on March 12th. So we'll see how all that shakes out and hopefully have some filled region director positions moving forward. So in terms of field staff, our retention rate is still high and turnover rate is still low. And so, but along those lines, as we've had to refill some of those positions, the interest in those positions is very high still. And certainly that's a great thing. So we're glad for that. Agency-wide, we currently have 204.5 out of our 228.2 FTE positions filled. So that means we've got 33 positions that are vacant right now. 6 of those are pending hiring in March or April. So those are positions we have selectees that are going to start in what I did there. Put that down. Changing slides on me. But anyway, that will start in March or April. 11 positions are in the selections process. We have 13 positions posted and 3 vacancies under review. And so what that means under review is we're evaluating those to see exactly where they're needed and what that looks like, and then making the changes to get them in the right spot. Just to give you an update from the legislative session, we were essentially awarded or reawarded or allocated about 23 total positions from the legislative session. Of those, 13 have been hired. 2 are pending hire in March and April. We've got 3 in the screening and interview process. We've got 4 of them posted, and then only 1 of them in development. And the one that's in development will be the administrative support person for the entomologist. So a little comment about the entomologist and why we're a little bit behind on that. As we were trying to make sure we had the Pleasanton office squared away in terms of space and everything else. And that's where that position and lab, those facilities are going to go to Pleasanton as a more central location with access to San Antonio with airports and things like that. In the event we have to respond to new roll screwworms in a large way, that's what the plan is for putting the new roll screwworm response office, because there's space in there that can be changed to accommodate more people to have a unified command. So anyway, all the details on that. Other positions I wanted to update on is we have also hired a field training manager, and he's with us today, Mr. Bradley Martin, in the back somewhere there. Yep, started on January the 5th, and Bradley and I worked together for a long time in meat inspection. He brings a wealth of knowledge and writing skills to the position to help get some training things and work with Donna and a new training specialist that's in the process of being hired to increase our training capacity with our field staff. So again, one other comment is we have also gone ahead and allocated 6 positions, 5 livestock inspectors and 1 assistant region manager position related to ectoparasites, primarily New World screwworm response. And so those folks, as they come on board, will start looking at taking on more of the New World screwworm response as we increase our role and activity in trapping and all things New World screwworm. So that's unfortunately, unfortunately, is probably going to be the tip of the iceberg on some of those positions, but we'll cross that bridge if and when we have to. So again, thank you to all of our great agency management teams and HR for all the support in getting those those positions posted and keeping that process moving forward. So in terms of disease, Dr. Dinges mentioned the equine herpes myeloencephalopathy and EHV response back in November and over Thanksgiving. And I'm not going to go through any more numbers, but most important thing that came out of that is we had 3 regions that were hit very hard in terms of number of horses that were contact horses that had to be traced. But we certainly had a lot of cooperation from the other 3 regions that weren't quite as hard hit to take on traces and manage those cases. And so it was definitely a team effort. And Dr. Mundy's got the numbers associated with all of that. And so there was a lot of work to be done over the Thanksgiving holiday there. And a lot of follow-up afterwards. So the other comment I wanted to make about the EHM situation was appreciate the equine industry and their proactive and positive response to what was going on with that situation in terms of being willing to shut down and reschedule and do things to mitigate the risk associated with moving that disease around and exposing those equine athletes. So just want to go on record as we really appreciate that and certainly look forward to working with them moving forward, especially the event centers in terms of enhancing biosecurity and ways to mitigate that type of occurrence from happening again. So the slide jumped up already, but in the midst of all of that, certainly our livestock inspectors and field staff have been engaged in all of the normal things as well. And so there's some numbers about what they've been up to over the last quarter of 2025, calendar year 2025. So certainly a lot of good work going on out there and important work in terms of disease surveillance and detection and response and follow-up as necessary when things are noticed that are not quite right, or we get a detected result of some kind. So, lastly, just a few comments about program records and quality assurance. Last commission meeting talked about the transition to eCVIs, electronic CVIs, and away from paper CVIs or health certificates on January the 1st. Did put out notice to all the other states that send animals, the veterinarians that send animals to Texas, that we were no longer accepting paper CVIs, that everything needed to be electronic. I'm not going to go through a bunch of numbers because we just haven't been doing this very long. We'll have more details on the next commission meeting. But as of right now, Rebecca's provided me that we've got 91% compliance with that. And so that's much better than I was afraid it might be. But we do have a number of other states that have made that move already to thank for that. And so it makes it easier when a lot of the states that animals commonly move back and forth between Texas and there are already in the requirements for electronic CVI. So that does help a bunch. So February 1st, we did pull the trigger and turned off the ability for Texas veterinarians to order paper CVI books online. And so they can still be purchased. They just can't order them online at this point. And so that's in the works to continue that progression, to do away with not being able to order sometime around June-ish, and then make that full transition to all animal movements being recorded in electronic CVIs starting in the first part of next year. So Lastly, just wanted to recognize that the Program Records Department continues to grow and reorganize and continues to do great work in terms of keeping up with all those animal movements. In January alone, there were more than 10,000 CDIs that came in and had to be processed. So appreciate all the work that they do in keeping that current. And we have had a little bit of a reorganization back there, and we have Jen Daniel now, who's been hired as a team lead to help Rebecca Galvan, the Program Records Director, take some of the administrative things off of her and be able to manage a few things because we keep putting more and more on her plate. So I think that's everything I've got. Certainly glad to try to answer any questions or point to Dr. Digis so he can answer them or whatever we need to do there.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
For you or Dr. Dingus one. With all the work that y'all done preparing in case we do get number World Screw Worms, I applaud you for that. What talks have been had? What potential requirements, I won't say restrictions, but requirements have you heard? Is there any going to other states, crossing state lines with our livestock? Kind of where is that at?
Yeah. So, like Dr. Dingus had mentioned, also, we continue to work with other state animal health officials. So there's a group within the National Assembly, and then there's been a smaller regional group that's been meeting. Again, those states where we move most of our animals up and down, especially thinking about cattle, right? So that work is, the short answer is what they're looking at and what we all want to harmonize is what those requirements look like if the animals are coming out of an infested zone. So certainly basic requirements will be, if they're moving out of state, they're going to have a certificate of veterinary inspection, health paper. On there, though, will have to be some things to include, what were the treatments, make sure that the cattle were inspected in the timelines. I think everybody's kind of on the page, and Dr. Dingus can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think within 7 days is if they're coming out of an infested zone, they'll have to have inspection within 7 days to move out of there, plus treatment. ID is going to be a part of that, but again, since it's an interstate movement, ID is already a requirement anyway. And so, and then the other piece is just the movement permits that you'll be issued as part of that to assure that the treatments and inspections and all of those things have been done to go with the certificate of veterinary inspection. Now, the other side of that on the receiving state or state of destination is everybody's working through what their own internal process will be to receive those animals if they come from an infested zone, whether or not there will be entry permits and things like that. And I think my gauge on it, and again, Dr. Dingus can tell me if I'm reading this wrong, but I think everybody's kind of looking at there will be entry permit requirements if they're coming from infested zones, just to kind of follow up on those and make sure that some reason something didn't happen and it got missed along the way, right? And so that a rapid detection and rapid response can happen if there did something go awry there. I don't know if that answered your question.
It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Lancer? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda would be a presentation of disease information and epidemiology activities. Dr. Jesse Mundy.
Hi, how are y'all doing?
Good.
So start off, we'll talk about hypopath, avian influenza in livestock. So the updates and progress we've made along these lines. So across the entire country, as we're seeing less and less cases. So they're starting to talk about moving on to the next phase and seeing what that will look like as the country moves towards proof of no disease on a state by state level. Texas hasn't had any cases confirmed in quite a while. Put this together so we can see the 30 cases that we did manage. The red bars show you when we detected clinical disease on EpiWork. So the EpiWork to show when those cows got sick, and the gold bars show when it was detected. So you can see some of the detections went into 2025, but all of the clinical disease in our animals was quite a ways ago. So we're putting this together with DISH along with the metrics from the silo project that they're running to submit a report to USDA to address our stage. They're waiting for me. I have a pretty picture though for them, so we should be fine. So along the national milk testing strategy, the silo project that the dish mostly does with us, we are still considered affected, but that report should address that. I am very optimistic, and the people that collaborate with us on this and the federal people that we've talked to about it are very optimistic that we'll be able to change to gold in the very near future after we're able to get that report to them. And so within that, we have the silos that we monitor. We've stayed consistent with the number of silos that are enrolled each round of testing. And so for quarter one, we were able to test at least right at 50% of each of those silos when they ran out there to inspect them. So we have a good sampling rate with the number of qualifying silos, and we have not had any detections from the federal diagnostic lab to respond to. We do remain ready to respond if that happens, so we can identify what's going on at the dairy level if the universe decides to be unkind. Any questions about hive path in livestock or the silo project or silo surveillance? So tuberculosis finally got complicated enough that we had to make another pretty picture. Through the response, we have the traces that are initiated when mostly it's slaughter surveillance, and all our work recently has been slaughter surveillance. We find a problem, NVSL finds a problem. We initiate the trace, we trace it back from that animal that has tuberculosis diagnosed within the animal to the herd it came from. We assess the population it comes from. Then if it is diagnosed as TB affected, it's the federal term, or tuberculosis affected, we then do the epidemiology. We start and respond by either test and remove status, which is a federal option, or depopulate, which is an option. Move through those, complete that process, verify that all of the actions, there's a lot of actions in the little orange step, verify that all of that worked, and then follow up with years of assurance testing to make sure that we don't miss any occult infections, or that whatever put that population at risk at the first time was addressed so they do not become positive again. And so that is the TB response. It's always been the response, just mapping it out a little easier so you can see where we are and what we've been doing. And the answer is a lot. So since I've been around, these are the cases that we've worked through from fiscal year 24. Those are complete. The handful 4 that we did in fiscal year 25. 2 of those are complete. One of them, we cheated and transferred it out of state. Not cheating. I proved it. It's not my problem. So the dairy that we worked with in March of 2025 has moved through the trace and the herd assessment. So as Dr. Dinges indicated, it is in the test and remove phase. And so we are within that response period before we can go on to the verification test. The beef herd, same thing. We traced it. We did the assessment testing. They were not diagnosed as TB affected, just stayed at TB exposed. And so no TB was found in that source population. And so they were released, and we'll do an assurance test in a year. For fiscal year 26, we've been a little TB affected. We've been doing a lot of work just proving that the surveillance system that the nation has set up is working. So within that, we've completed 2 transferred out of state, actually. We are expecting one of those to send trace transfers back. So aside from this, our cases, other states have cases as well. And so we can get transfers from affected populations that from those herds that are positive, the animals that move off those places, we have to follow those and make sure that they did not spread tuberculosis as well. And so we are expecting some of those 6-4 or tracing from source traces to come back. We deal with that all the time. Our folks in the regions are really good at that. So we do have a dairy that when we traced it back to origin, it is working. It's a very, very large dairy. We worked through a test plan for it that's efficient but effective for doing what the federal program requires. We're working with USDA through that. They've signed the test plan, and so they will move on to do the herd assessments. The one that we identified, or the trace that we were given in December, is TB affected. And so they finished their assessment. We're waiting on, we still need the assessment, even though we were able to say, oh yeah, here's the problem. We still need the results that Dr. Dinges indicated back. We run those results through the epidemiologist for modeling in Fort Collins, the Center of Epidemiology and Animal Health, that help us develop a test and remove plan that is effective or to recommend depopulation. And so we need those results back, and then we'll finish the assessment part and figure out what we need to do to work through the test and remove, is what I expect phase, before we can get to verification. And then February, we got another trace. This one's of Mexican origin. We actually got this last week. So one of my epidemiologists is following up on that right now. So in more detail, if you need it, the 2025 dairy case, it's over 25,000 dairy cows, Jersey Holsteins, beef in the mix, just so we don't get bored. So the assessment testing is completed. It is TB affected. We have a herd plan, and they are going through test and remove. March 2026 is when the fourth removal test. So they have to do these tests. They're very high sensitivity. So our surveillance program, TB testing that we require to move animals in and out is high specificity. This is a high sensitivity approach. And so we make them go through multiple parallel tests or multiple tests over and over within a certain time period to make sure that we do find any of the cows within there before they then verify to make sure that they are indeed free. The genetic testing on this strain, it is a new introduction of Mexican origin, is what the sequencing genetic folks in UVSL have told us. So the beef cow that was in South Texas, we got them through assessment, confirmation, and then the quarantine was released in February. And so we'll retest them in a year just to make sure. Just 1 year assurance test is the plan for now. This also was a new introduction from Mexico. And then the very large dairy that we're working through, we have that herd plan all worked out. We've got a testing plan that all collaborators, all parties involved agree is a good approach for it. And then we're getting that assessment testing scheduled. Our folks in the Amarillo region are knocking that out, getting that started this week. And then we have the TB affected dairy that is being worked. It's a smaller Texas dairy of, less than 5,000 cows, only in Texas. And we're getting that modeling done by SIA. So the assurance cow, the populations that we deal through the TB program, we have the herd up in Lipscomb County that made it to the assurance part of the process in 2019. They're finished up in fiscal year 24. So you won't see them on the list anymore. We have managed to complete the entire assurance phase for the Bailey County and Lamb County dairies from 2020. And so that's all done. No more work needed there. Sherman County we're working through that. We have two. Yeah, we just did the second one, or we're about to do the second one at the end of this year. So sorry, October feels like last week to me. I don't know what happened besides EHM. Randall County, we finished up that testing. We will see this move away from the list because animal movements here, we're going to do probably an epi closure of this one. Animal movements, when we reconcile it, the animals that need to be tested are actually in another state now. And so they'll continue working through that, just won't be us. And then Sutton County, that beef herd, they've done their third test. And so working through over halfway through, we have 2 left that are still going to be something that we manage from that entire list moving through. And we will keep doing what we do. Our field people do a really good job with this and work with the producers on this. And so we have those 2 herds under assurance testing during Q1 and 2 herds completed assurance testing. So don't want them to forget how to do it though. So we just keep adding. Our state for our additional cattle diseases for Q1 of the state fiscal year, trick. We had 15 cases that we responded to, worked through. Little bit of a surprising geographic distribution on that one, but we'll see more of those cases come across. November to March is when we see usually an uptick, and that's just based on the cattle population that is usually tested during that time of year. So not a lot of surprises there on the total, just a little different geographic distribution than I expected. Brucellosis, Q1, we didn't have anything there to investigate so far. And that's for cattle diseases. Any questions about the other ones or TB? Lovely. EHM outbreak. So Dr. Denise did a good introduction of the first few days and getting started. Total impact when we looked at the end of it is from Texas. We sent traces out where states needed to work on their response as partners with us to 34 different states and 4 Canadian provinces. All in all, EDCC, who is monitoring the nation impact of the entire outbreak, reported 8 different states with cases that were linked to the outbreak. Within Texas, we had 2,953 epi-linked cases. So that's the confirmed diagnostic positives. And then all of the horses within that would have been within those case numbers. And so those case numbers, those epi case numbers include populations within it. That's not number of animals, that's number of facilities our folks worked with mostly. And then contact traces from there. And we also had to work within the event level. So the normal epi you expect, positive animal, do the interview, figure out where they've been, who they've been in contact with. But because of the scope of this outbreak, and by the second day, by Wednesday, we knew that we had some indications that there were horses that were not at the index event that were now positive and becoming ill. And so we had second tier exposed to positive, now exposed to now exposing. And that is not anything an FE wants to see. Makes a very pretty graph, but is terrifying. And so we needed to get a hold of that very quickly. And Dr. Dengis was right on board with saying, we can't get into detail, boss. I don't have enough time. We need to shut down based on events. All right, let's do it. So I was very, very surprised. And Erin did a fantastic job. I actually attribute a lot of the success of what we went through to communications, because soon as she gave the industry directions on what they needed to do, most of them did it. And then they used Facebook to peer pressure everybody else that didn't want to do it into doing it mostly. And the numbers bear out for that. So we had 42 cases that were diagnostically confirmed within Texas and reported to us. And so that's 42 cases after the outbreak began that we got the diagnostic lab reports from a Nolan lab. So within the NBSL system, that they were confirmed positive Texas horses. Of those during the epi interviews and following them, 6 of them were confirmed dead. 2 of them were dead when we found out about them, and a few others didn't make it. But we had within that 27 confirmed epi-linked events in Texas. It's from the interview. So when we started, so I'll remind you that November 18th is when we became active in this. And so this is November 1st through 17th. And so by the time we started going, we had to backtrack and find these different events. And so there's a big 17 events that we worked on. And then there was an out-of-state event in Oklahoma that was a big impact as well. That the big overlap was 17, 18, 19 actually. But this is before the 18th when we became active. We have the index event that was over several different days with 670 candidates or participants within it. And that is the number of participants in each one of the events and where they went. So you can see on the 7th, 8th, and 9th, they weren't just at the index event. They were already all over the place. And so we had several different, these are exposed to confirmed positives. We had more positives than I know that we had underreporting. And we have people that didn't test, they just treated. And so therefore, it wasn't reported. So within my underreported numbers that I was able to respond to, we had this many horses spreading out. And then you can see the next weekend, they went everywhere again. And so the scope of this is amazing. And the most amazing thing is that this started shutting down the first week in December. That was the most surprising thing the entire time. I was able to get more than 4 hours of sleep that day. And like, I was expecting, I was like, oh, we're getting a lull. People are settling down, but we'll see it again. And it did not spike again. And so that is a huge success story. I know I'll be nerding out here a bit, but it is a huge success story that only is because we got on it, we communicated, and people did it. And so, and then Dr. Denji's leadership, because you know they're refractory to regulatory interference. If they're scared, you're going to just lock everything down. And so the clear communication and the fact that he was on the phone constantly seeing what we could do to safely move animals that needed to be moved and analyze the risk. If there was too much risk, he said no. So We're looking at just the event level, so we were working on the horse level and the event level, so contact tracing and events. There was no index horse identified at the index event. And there were reports during our epi interviews of those positives. We got full disclosure, we had help from USDA epi as well to get all of this epi done. But we did have reports of 6 horses that were known about. People were within this circuit and they knew about sick horses before the Waco event. They just didn't know what they were sick with. I hope. So we know that it was happening before that. We just did not identify where that actual true start of the outbreak index event and therefore where those horses were. But we were able to shut it down, I think, with communication a lot of times. Even if we weren't involved with the correct response, the industry stepped up and was doing it themselves mostly. So we had hold orders and trace outs from those 17 events. And so that almost 3,000 traces that involved regulatory hold orders was just the 17 of the 27th. We had 2 out-of-state events that had impact that we were managing traces on and working with Oklahoma and Louisiana on the information. There were 5 events that showed indications that they were significant, but I had no proof that were held between October 17th and 28th that had horses at those events that were later positive. So it's just when did that index horse show up amongst those events? And then we had 5 events that we confirmed they were exposed to positive and therefore were part of the spread. But by the time we confirmed that diagnostically or traced the information back and got those lab reports, it was past the effective hold order period. And so we didn't go back and subject them to the regulatory process because it would have lots of work, lots of emotions, sum total, no difference. So of those investigations, all of the regions, Dr. Lansford was very just in his serving up all of it. The people, it didn't matter if you have horses in your region infected or not, you were going to help. Everyone was happy. But we broke it out by the regions so these were the traces that we had to deal with that were managed by the regions. And then the positives, those were managed by the regions that horses within. And so our regions were quite busy. We had 42 horses that we found in Texas. We were actually managing 47 horses. There were 49 total, but dead horses don't take up a lot of time. And then these were the trace and investigation management. So this is our staff input into helping, and everybody stepped up. As soon as we were able to identify what we needed, they stepped up and helped manage those, work through it, get the risk analysis. Even EM was involved. And then these are our positives, where those actual positive horses were being managed as well. That took another level of management because they had to stay and they had to prove that they weren't going to spread it before they could leave. And then, of course, there's a lot more communication on what to do when you have a positive horse on a place that most likely has other horses on it. So what is true isolation? What are you looking for? What are the temp logs mean? Can you do things like, there was so many talks through, okay, but can I move it to a barn out here? Oh, okay, but can I do this? Oh, by the way, this. So there's so many discussions within these cases to figure out what we can do. And that was EHM in a nutshell. Did I answer your question, Commissioner Oates? So back to the other things. For the equine diseases for Q1, our EIA and pyro cases, we have 6 EIA cases started during Q1, a pyro case, and then a dual infected equine as well. And so what that looks geographically, our EIA counties for Q1 are that nice teal color. The pyro and EIA is up there in the panhandle. So where the pyro is also where there's an EIA. And then the squiggly marked county is the county where our dual infected horse is. That's what I have for horses. Moving on to avian, accepting Shelby 01. Dr. Lansford had to do that one. So in Q1, our high path and ILT cases, we had 1 case, was backyard case, about 20 birds in Q1 of high path AI and 7 cases of ILT. And so the ILT are where the teal dots are, so a little spread, but just like normal, localized over in the east part of the state. And then the High Path County right there in Harris. Avian influenza investigation. So on top of our sick bird calls that we do as part of normal work, and by we, I mean the region staff, we had several cases where the diagnostic lab reported influenza A positives. And so, but with more characterization to that, they were not high path AI. So 2 of those were H6N2, which you see circulating through. One was an H5N1 non-high path, but it wasn't able to be further characterized. And so, and all 3 of these happen to be within our live bird market system. Anything first? So with our pigs, brucellosis and pseudorabies, got nothing for swine brucellosis during Q1. And there was 1 case of pseudorabies that they worked through, sort of. But going through there, this was actually not our normal commercial type operation, but we're seeing more and more of the show pig populations having problems. And so hopefully with education and a different approach to loading up those show barns with pigs, we'll see some differences there. From our cervid side, or all exotic susceptible CBCs, only thing to report on there is from the CWD side. So as of the end of November, which is the end of Q1, we have the 77 herds that were notified of the HCP appeal. Maddie's done a good job working through all of the response and the understanding there. 55 trace breeders, breeder facilities that have been transferred to Texas Parks and Wildlife, and 7 of the positive breeders. We have about 170 cases that are still in our books that are waiting for Texas Parks and Wildlife to actually file in the register. And then past that, when their new definitions become effective, they will get about 170 cases, hopefully 5 minutes later. So just waiting on that. But within CWD, we did not stop managing it and doing what we can for our exotic industry. This is the surveillance that we've gotten so far. So from Q1, this is the surveillance that was turned in for each county. So this is where we're tracking the surveillance for prions at the county level in the different types of populations. And you can compare and contrast that to, this is across the state where we know there are indications diagnostically, the environments, somewhere within these counties, a lot of places in a couple of those counties, there is prion contamination. So prion contamination in the environment in this part of Texas, surveillance in this part of Texas. And that's all I have. Questions? Yes, sir.
Dr. Money, do you have any idea how many CWD survey tests was submitted this year so far as to our?
So not this so far this year, but there's 102 from September to November. So we did go back and catch when it gets really active. I know our exotics don't have a hunting season, but September and November, we have 102. And it's something that Maddie is keeping track of, and it will be in this report.
Any detected?
No. Yeah, sorry, it would have been pink.
I can't see the thing, so that's why I have asked questions.
I'm sorry. I promise I'll put a slide in.
No, that's, make it real big.
GIS. Get a bigger one. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to thank you. Last week you did a presentation to the dairy guys
Oh, absolutely.
on the New World Schoolworm and PB. And I talked to a couple of producers that were on it, and it was well received,
Oh, good.
very informative.
So you didn't have to record it and play it back at 0.5 speed. Sorry. But yeah, I'm waiting to see if they have any more questions, and I'll provide written responses to any of the questions that Dr. Treichler puts together.
So
So
it was really appreciated.
there's rumors there'll be a recording out somewhere, but Aaron has to approve it first because I'm not getting Aaron mad at me. So anything else? Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Dr. Monday.
Yes, sir.
The next item on the agenda will be a presentation of Texas Authorized Personnel Program activities. Mr. Rex Dwyer.
All right. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm going to discuss a little bit about the authorized personnel program. And so thank you for letting me do that this morning. To discuss some of the things that the department has kind of been undertaking over the past year and to discuss some of the things we're looking forward to for the rest of 2026. So just as a quick reminder, the authorized personnel program is our state-specific authorization program for all the large animal veterinarians in the state of Texas. So any veterinarians in Texas who are performing any regulatory work on livestock, equine, poultry, and exotic species, they will be authorized by the Texas Animal Health Commission and then active in this program here. So like I've done the last couple of times when I've updated on the department, I like to just give kind of a quick update on our numbers. So we've got just over 2,500 veterinarians who are active in the program currently. So these are veterinarians who are, authorized to do pretty much any regulatory work, testing, vaccinating, issuing health certificates, things like that. We do have 2 additional certifications that that a veterinarian might need. One of those is for bovine trichomoniasis testing. We've got 960 veterinarians currently certified to do trick testing. We've got a CWD live animal testing certification. We've got 238 veterinarians certified to do that testing. And then at the bottom there, that is our CWD postmortem sample collector program. These are non-veterinarians. These are lay people and cervid producers who the agency trains to do postmortem sample collection on cervid species. But the department manages that program and their certification, so we include those numbers here. And as you can kind of look through the last 5 years, the numbers stay relatively consistent. We did see a kind of a higher number of veterinarians who were authorized in 2025, and that was a result almost directly of Texas Tech University graduating their very first veterinary class in May of 2025. So very glad to have those new veterinarians in the workforce, and they've been a great asset so far. So the department has been really focused over this past year on 2 main things, and the first one of those is education and outreach. So on the education side, that's things like working with the Texas veterinary schools, the 2 veterinary schools we have, and working with 3rd and 4th year students specifically, kind of helping make sure they get what they need to, get out of school and start working and go into different parts of the state and practicing large animal medicine. On the outreach side, that includes, things like keeping open line of communication with our veterinarians that are authorized in the program, kind of sending out anything that might be helpful for them, letting them know that they can reach out to us at any time, any of the region offices around the state and any of the central office here in Austin, and we'll do our best to kind of help support them on the state side of things. So specifically on the education side of things, so during the spring semester at the 2 Texas veterinary schools, the students that are in their 3rd year, they take a class that is focused in regulatory medicine. And that is essentially a class, veterinarians from the USDA, APHIS, the Animal Health Commission, and the Department of State Health Services. They essentially teach the class throughout the semester. They take turns giving various presentations, and they are essentially kind of preparing these students to get out in the workforce and start working with state and federal animal health officials. They train on things, all of our state and federal disease programs, so our brucellosis, tuberculosis, and trick program. They talk about disease traceability, livestock import and export requirements, international livestock movements, emergency management, completing regulatory documents like health certificates and things that go to the laboratory for testing. So last spring, 2025, we had a really great semester. It was one of the first Texas Tech University classes that came through. And then we're currently right in the middle of our spring 2026 semester, and it's going very well. I can speak on behalf of the Animal Health Commission veterinarians. A lot of our region directors and our field veterinarians, they do a lot for the commission. And then, between all that stuff, they go to both the campuses in Amarillo and College Station and kind of help teach that class and work with the veterinary students and give out a lot of good information. So very appreciative of the time they spend doing that. Dr. Lansford goes to both campuses every semester and kind of gives an overview of the Animal Health Commission. Holly and the emergency management team goes and gives information about responding to disease cases and things like that. So looking forward to seeing how that continues to progress. Just as kind of a quick update on the outreach and kind of continuing education programs we do in the department. So like I mentioned, we've got our bovine trichomoniasis program and our CWD testing certification. So we had 13 trick meetings in 2025. 227 veterinarians attended those and became certified to trick test. We had 6 CWD meetings and 68 veterinarians attended those. And then there at the bottom, we have what we call our core orientation class or our core class. And that is very similar information to the spring regulatory course we do at the universities. And that is veterinarians from the 3 agencies. Instead of being throughout the semester, that's a 1-day class. It's 8 hours long. And it's a lot of the same information. So they get information about, our disease programs and kind of how Texas operates. And that is specifically for veterinarians who go to school outside of Texas and then move here to practice. So specifically, that's really good because about half of those people are new people that just graduated and moved to Texas. But a lot of these folks are veterinarians who've been in other states practicing for, 5, 10, 15 years, and they come to Texas. So this is kind of an all-day orientation we do for them to kind of catch up on how Texas operates, kind of what agencies are involved in animal responses, and kind of who they're supposed to report positive diseases to and things like that. So of those 101 veterinarians, and I should mention, we do this class 3 times a year. We were able to do 2 classes last year due to the government shutdown and some pause in federal spending. So we still had 101 veterinarians attend those, and most of those went on to become authorized, and they are now practicing, large animal medicine in the state of Texas. So we're really glad to have them. And all of these 3 different training programs, veterinarians who attended those received continuing education from the Animal Health Commission, and that helps them maintain their state veterinary license. So, jump back here. So kind of education and outreach is the one thing that we've really been focused on. The second piece of this is addressing the rural veterinary shortage here in the state of Texas. So we do know that there's a bit of a shortage in, veterinarians that are coming out of school and go on to do food animal medicine, especially in the rural parts of the state. And this is not unique to Texas by any means. This is, a nationwide issue. I talk with a lot of my federal counterparts, a lot of folks in the USDA, and a lot of my state counterparts in, in other states. And this is happening all over. And what we're really seeing is a lot of students that are coming out of veterinary school, they're coming out with pretty substantial student loan debt. They're accruing a lot of loans to get through school. And then when they get out, a lot of them are choosing to go to maybe more corporate small animal practices, places that can hire, maybe give a little bit higher salary and maybe, more normal working hours and things like that. So what we're doing to kind of help address this, besides just general outreach and talking about some of these things, is we've got a couple loan repayment programs that we're really focused on right now. The first of those is the Veterinary Medicine Loan Repayment Program, the VMLRP. So this is a national program. It's authorized by USDA NIFA, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. And it's essentially a student loan debt relief program for any veterinarians who choose to go to one of these shortage areas and serve for at least 3 years. And so each year the USDA allocates a certain number of shortage areas that a state can receive. And this last, 2 cycles ago, they allotted 8 shortage areas for the state of Texas, and these are not guaranteed. You've got to apply for them, and you're not guaranteed to get all 8 of them, but we applied for ours, and we were successfully awarded all of them, which is the highest number of shortage areas a state can receive. So we're really glad about that. And you've actually seen this slide because I presented the same information last year, because right after I presented this, with the government shutdown, they decided to not administer this program last year. And so they decided early this year in 2026 to go ahead and administer this program for this cycle. And they're going to use these same shortage areas that weren't able to be used. So we didn't need to reapply or anything for new shortage areas. So the application cycle is open right now for these shortage areas. Applications will close March 5th. And the FY 2025 cycle, which was last year, these are the shortage areas we looked at. So in the fall of 2024 is actually when we applied for these shortage areas. And when we did, we were really looking at kind of what areas we needed to focus on first. And the Texas-Mexico border was one of those important ones that we wanted to kind of focus on. We know there's a shortage of large animal veterinarians down in South Texas. So late 2024 is also when we kind of realized that the screwworm was continuing to head north. So it turned out to be a good decision, and hopefully, someone will utilize this program and go down there and, help give some veterinary support. And then West Texas and the Panhandle, kind of similar situations in those areas. We know there's big sprawling ranches out there, and, a lot of those veterinarians in those areas are reaching retirement age. Not a lot of people are going out there to fill them. So we're hoping with an extra year, everyone getting to look at these shortage areas, someone will, people will be encouraged to apply and go serve in these areas. So that's the federal program. The other program we're really focused on utilizing right now is the Rural Veterinarian Incentive Program, the RVIP. So this is a state program. So during the last legislative session, the Texas government allocated $5 million to fund this program. So we've got $2.5 million for this cycle and $2.5 million for next year's cycle. And they designated the Animal Health Commission to administer this program in the state of Texas, which we're very honored to do. Me specifically, since I get to help administer it, I'm really happy about this one. If you look at the map here, all of these red counties are considered rural. The Animal Health Commission did not have any part in designating these areas. In the legislation itself, they decided which areas would be rural, They laid out the program requirements, the eligibility requirements, and who would be on the committee to review applications. And so what this program is essentially kind of a similar loan repayment program. This also can go to payment of tuition and fees for current veterinary students. So any veterinary students that are enrolled in a Texas veterinary school, if they agree to go serve in one of these areas after graduation, they are also eligible, and they can get up to $180,000 knocked off their student loans if they agree to go to one of these areas. So very good program. It is also open, like I said, it's open to veterinarians who recent graduates and current students. They also carved out a caveat where any students that are currently enrolled outside of Texas at a veterinary school, if they went to high school or undergrad in Texas and they agree to come back and serve in one of these areas, they're also eligible to apply. So they opened up to a lot of folks, and we're really excited to kind of see how it plays out. And since we're kind of in the middle of the application cycle here, I'll give just kind of a quick update. So last year, before this was actually put into legislation, we did had a similar program that we administered, and it was based on some COVID money that we had left over, some ARPA funds. So we were able to administer this. We had 18 applicants, and 3 veterinarians ended up being awarded. We had about $135,000 left over from COVID dollars that we were able to give out to 3 different veterinarians who are still currently in rural areas of the state doing food animal medicine. They received about $45,000 each as a one-time payment towards their student loans. So glad we're able to administer that at least, but looking forward, now that we had this in legislation, we know we're going to have the money for the next few years to run this program. We were able to do a lot more outreach. We worked with the veterinary schools. We worked with Oklahoma State and obviously our 2 veterinary schools. And we had 92 applicants to this program that were completely eligible. And applications have already been reviewed by the committee members. And the next step will be convening with the committee members, and they will basically be deciding how they want to distribute $2.5 million to, Texas veterinary school students and recent veterinarians to take off their student loans. So really looking forward to seeing how this program kind of helps our rural areas of the state over the next couple of years. So as I've kind of updated on the commission or updated on the department activities over the last couple of years, I like to kind of end on just kind of a couple key things the department is focused on. And so last February, I discussed a couple main points. Well, first of those was Texas Tech's very first veterinary class. We're by no means taking any sort of credit or anything for the success their program has had so far, but we were able to work very closely with a lot of their students, a lot of their faculty over there, had their 3rd-year regulatory class. And then when they got into their 4th year, we really kind of got direct communication with them. A lot of them reached out to us directly and started working on their authorization and the certifications they might need. And they all really just joined the workforce, seamlessly and have been a great asset to our program. So they are all successfully, most of them are authorized veterinarians doing large animal work now. So very glad to see the success they're having and hope that, we have continued success in the future. Second point was recruitment and retention of food animal veterinarians. So like I said, the VMLRP program was put on pause last year. I was able to stay in, close contact with a lot of the people who I know were interested in the program. So I've been talking with some recent graduates for almost 2 full years now about this program, and applications are finally open for that. So we're hoping that we got all those shortage areas filled and new veterinarians go out to those areas. We were able to get our VIP put into official legislation, and we were also able to give out that $135,000 we had left over from COVID last year. So the last point I discussed was continued improvements to veterinary compliance. So we do have a staff member in the department who is focused specifically on veterinary compliance. And we are not, it's not our intention to be the bad guys or come down hard on the veterinarians. These are some of the hardest working folks that I've had the pleasure of working with. So what they're focused on specifically is all the regulatory documents that veterinarians fill out, specifically documents that go to the laboratory for testing, making sure that stuff's all filled out correctly. And if it's not, we're working with the veterinarian, working with the clinics, just trying to make sure it gets cleaned up. And that'll all kind of wrap up into a point I'll discuss here in just one second. So as we look forward to 2026, a couple of things that we're really focused on right now. Like I said, continued focus on education and outreach. That's one of our big primary focuses, communicating with our authorized veterinarians, letting them know that we're a real support for them. We're not adversaries by any means. We're here to support them as best we can all the time. Successful RVIP and VMLRP cycles. Really looking forward to updating, next year to see how these programs play out and see how they kind of address the veterinary shortage in the state of Texas, and hopefully they go out really well. Transition to electronic CVIs. So like Dr. Lansford mentioned just a second ago, the agency started a transition earlier this year to move away from paper health certificates and toward electronic health certificates. So the Texas veterinarians have a full year to kind of make this transition. January of 2027 is when Texas veterinarians will officially go full electronic. And we're currently working out kinks, fielding calls, helping veterinarians make that jump over. And it's been great so far. And this also all kind of wraps up into the final point here. So one of the big things that we're going to be working on in 2026 is continued integration with the epidemiology and program records departments. So whenever I start talking about this program, I often think about something Dr. Dinges tells us a lot. One of his favorite quotes, it seems, is he wants to make sure we're all pulling the rope in the same direction, really working towards a common goal. And so our 3 departments have been focused on building out a program. So our compliance specialist inside the department and the authorized personnel department is focused on all the documents that go to the laboratory for testing, making sure those documents are filled out properly and they're easy to read. So that way, when a positive disease does come up at the laboratory, the epidemiology department gets those documents and they can they've got information on that animal. They know the official identification. They know the producer's name. They know the physical address of that animal. So they can immediately start working on epidemiology traces and start doing their epidemiological investigations. Then the epi department works with program records, who handles all of our livestock imports into the state and tracks all the animal movements in the state. And using these electronic health certificates, which gives us instant data of where animals are moving around the state, who's coming into Texas, who those animals might have been exposed to, they can immediately start working on, contacting producers and contacting, stock shows and rodeos and letting them know that a positive disease has come up. And that whole kind of build out of that program is really aimed at, addressing the agency's big mission, which is responding to livestock and equine diseases here in the state. So that's some of the things we're focused on for the rest of this year. And I believe that's the end of it. So I know that's kind of a lot of information to kind of dump on you there, but I'm happy to entertain any questions or comments.
Any questions of Rex?
You give them speed speaking instruction.
I learned from Dr. Monday directly. And, it's hard to follow Dr. Lansford, Dr. Dinges, so, I just try to get it all out. So
Let's start off with the worst one, so.
there you go. My wife told me last night to slow down, but
We do appreciate it, though, don't we?
they want to bore you to death. Thank you very much for letting me update you guys.
Thanks. Next item of business on the agenda is a presentation of USDA Veterinary Services Program. Dr. Lalonde.
Good morning, Chairman. Morning, Commissioners. On behalf of Dr. Collins, she's on leave this week. She asked if I'll come by and give a presentation to the group. And I want to back up a little bit and give you a little history. I'm approaching my 10th year with USDA here in Austin. And this will be my 3rd opportunity to speak with you in regards to updating from USDA. But my second presentation, I guess, was at the beginning of the COVID outbreak. And it was when we initially were all sent home from downtown and we were told to work from home. And during that time, there was a commission meeting that occurred. So they asked me if I would be interested in presenting the update. And I want to tell you, it was a complete disaster that morning for me. My VPN didn't work. My dog didn't shut up from barking. And the HOA lawn guy kept going back and forth in front of the window of my house. So I want to say, 4 years later, I'm apologizing to Chairman Coleman for that because I can hear him in the background. Can you hear him? Can you hear it? So, USDA, when I hear full-time employees for Texas Animal Health Commission surpassing 200 employees, it's astounding. We have 28 full-time employees in Texas. We are a very, very small agency. That includes 14 VMOs and 13 animal health technicians throughout this entire state. That's our workforce.
Did it include the folks on the border if they were doing import export?
the folks on the border are gonna be mainly your cattle fever tick enforcement program, so it's a separate agency. But when I say field operations for USDA, that's our numbers. We recently hired, a new VMO in the northeast part of the state. His name is Dr. Mohammed Salfielden. Dr. Salfielden has over 13 years of experience specializing in diagnostic laboratory work, food safety, animal health, and epidemiology. He holds a master's of tropical animal health and a bachelor of veterinary medicine from the University of Khartoum, Sudan. Here is some of his journey that Dr. Salfielden shared with me. He's worked as a consumer safety inspector with the USDA Food Safety Inspection Service, better known as FSIS, up in the Sanderson Farm area of Tyler, Texas. He's also worked with the Saudi Arabia Ministry of Environment, Water, and Agriculture as a parasitologist and served as a veterinary medical officer as a field diagnostic laboratory within the Sudan Ministry of Livestock. So he is our newest veterinary medical officer that's going to be located or is located up in the northeast quadrant of Texas, supporting that area. We are a small workforce, and getting qualified candidates with our job announcements just hasn't been what we expected. I think when the position came open, that they announced the vacancy and it came out and closed, we had 3 applicants for that position. And I was not part of the interview panel, but apparently only 2 of the 3 scheduled an interview for the actual job interview portion. So, moving on, I'll talk a little bit about what I know on the New World screwworm rearing facility at Moore Air Base. Currently, our animal ID coordinator, Greg Elizondo, who's been with the agency for a number of years, he's down in the Harlingen area. He has accepted a 120-day detail opportunity to act as the program manager for the rearing facility. So he will be managing that aspect of it. Right now, the workforce for the rearing facility totals 7 employees, 1 logistic manager, 1 veterinarian, 4 supervisory insect production workers. And you'll probably hear that term as we get moving on with the permanent facility there. The acronym for that is an IPW. So they're basically insect production workers. That will be the title that they will be designated with as employees when the announcements come out, IPW workers. So right now there's 7 employees on detail from USDA. Those 7 employees are made up of Texas residents initially. We don't have any outside folks coming in to support the work that's going on at the rearing facility. The goal is to bring on 40 new positions at the rearing facility, and then transitioning those over the next year and a half to the permanent facility that will be completed sometime at the end of 2027 or beginning of 2028. Moving on to Friday's announcement, which was February the 20th. Typically in the mornings, around 9:30, our HR department will release all of the job openings that are available on our USDAjobs.com website. Friday morning, there were 18 positions posted for area veterinarians in charge. The area veterinarians in charge were basically in District 4. And when I say District 4 is made up of Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Nebraska, and Kansas, and Missouri. That's the district. So that's the district we're in. Texas is in District 4. So we've opened up 18 positions to potentially have 18 area veterinarians in charge in each one of those states, either that's going to looking at retirement or backfilling positions as they come up. The closing date for that is going to be February the 26th, so it was a very short opening period. But we're hoping that because it is an internal fulfillment types of situation, that we're going to fill it with qualified candidates from within those districts. Thanks to Dr. Dinges, Dr. Lansford, and Dr. Mundy. They've pretty much covered the statistical data that we typically present to the commission for the numbers. So I won't go into that. But I did get a chance to speak with our state plant health director, Mr. Stuart Cohen, who also sits in our office downtown. And he wanted me to mention at the meeting today that APHIS PPQ is also conducting indirect surveillance with their Mexican fruit fly traps. They have 7,057 traps along the border from Eagle Pass to Brownsville as part of their normal operations. So what they're doing is that in the event that a New World screwworm fly, the Cochleomya omnivorix, lands in their fruit fly trap, they're also supporting the identification process or screening process, I should say, for at their Laredo, McAllen, and Harlingen labs. So those are the 3 labs where they're doing screenings. Any flies that are really suspicious, obviously they're forwarding them on to the National Veterinary Service Laboratory in Ames, Iowa. That's an update for PPQ. So pretty much that concludes my report for USDA this morning. I'm happy to take any questions if you have.
Anyone have any questions?
These 7 folks that you said that are the rearing facility, that's for the future plant. So they're trying to put the team together that will
Right.
work at the future plant.
Yes, sir.
It's fixed to go into construction.
Right. So this is the first detail opportunity for those to, to get it going, do the test run, do the test releases, make sure that the facility is basically getting out the kinks, right? And so we can look forward to bringing in the other.
Are they sending those folks down to COPEC fairly regular to get training?
No, they have sent the COPEX folks here to help them in the facility themselves. I think the concern was the travel, the safety of travel, sending our employees across the border that way.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Dr. Ladon.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda will be a budget status report from Ms. Denise Cartershaw.
So Paula couldn't be here today. She's out sick, so I'm going to cover for her. But luckily, I'm not alone. I have Irma Rodriguez, who is our budget analyst. If anybody has any specific questions regarding the budget, she is here to help. So this is our total sort of picture of where we're at with our budget so far. The orange area is the money we have spent. The green is what has been budgeted. Paula and Financial Services keep us on track. They regularly meet with each of our strategy department heads to make sure that we are staying within budget and on track for where we are in each fiscal year. So this is just an overview of where we stand right now. And we are exactly where Paula and Irma expect us to be. And so with that, I just asked for the commission to approve our budget status update.
Is there any more information that you might have that we might need in order to make a good decision in approving this budget?
So the piece of information that I can add as a department head is that we have fairly detailed meetings with Paula and Irma regularly, along with Dr. Dinges and other members of the executive staff, to make sure that we are fulfilling the needs of each of our departments, looking at forecasting what the future needs will be of that department for that next quarter, and making sure that any of those needs will be adequately met with the allocated budget. If we have needs that can't be met through our department's budget, we have discussions with Paula and Irma about, is there other budget that can be transferred between strategies to support the best needs of the agency? And that ultimately is a decision that comes down to Dr. Dinges and his decisions about how to best operate the agency. So far we have been able to stay within our allocated budget for each of our departments, and all of our agency needs are being met.
But what we're doing today is not approving the budget. We're approving this budget status.
Yeah. So this is just a snapshot of where we sit after this first quarter.
Are you happy with your new auditors
Yes, ma'am.
working closely?
Yeah, so right now they're currently performing an audit of our purchasing processes.
Good.
So they have been meeting with Paula and Shayna, who is our team lead for purchasing. She's our lead purchaser. And so they are going through the field work right now for the purchasing processes.
Thank you very much.
Great. Do we have a motion to approve the budget status report?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the budget status report as discussed today.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the budget status report as discussed. Any questions or comments? Not all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no. Motion passes unanimously. The next item will also be Ms. Coggeshall, and it is consideration of and possible action on agency contracts, purchases, and leases.
So this is as a reminder, this is contract purchases and leases that exceed $75,000. This commission meeting, we actually have a pretty substantial one, and it is part of a task that we were given by the 89th legislature to develop a brand registry system, a database that would be housed at Texas Animal Health Commission that would enable producers registering their livestock brand to do so electronically. Happy to report that we have hired Dwayne DeBose, one of our internal employees, as the project manager for this program. Dwayne has already started going around to different county clerks' offices to find out what systems they currently have in place, what their needs are at each of the county levels, so we can develop our needs for what this system will ultimately look like. We're a little premature. We're coming to the commission for the approval for this request. We don't yet have our full requirements laid out for the program. The other employee position that was given to us by the legislature is a IT position. Tom is in the process of hiring that individual. So we hope within the next few months, we'll be able to put out bids for the livestock brand registration database. The legislature did award us about $2.6 million for this project. And so we are seeking permission from the commission so that we can go ahead and spend the money that the legislature gave us to build this database.
Okay, any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the contract purchase and lease agreements or leases that we change.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the contracts, purchases, and leases as presented. Any further discussions or questions? Not all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no, and motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda will be consideration of and possible action on orders related to commission rule violations. Mr. DeVar Fahim.
Morning, Chairman. Morning, Commissioners. As has been, as we've had in the past, it's going to be a fairly short presentation. These are disciplinary orders where the individuals have paid the administrative penalties that were assessed to them. We have 4 disciplinary orders for your consideration. 3 of them are dairy ID violations. These are repeat offenders who are bringing dairy cattle to markets without official identification being applied prior to arrival at the market. And we know that that is the case because market staff, either the vet or our inspector or just general market staff, is applying and reporting that back to the Animal Health Commission. And then there's one case that was investigated by our senior investigator, Len Montgomery, for basically misusing scrapie tags. This was a really interesting investigation, and we managed to secure a fairly high penalty for that first-time offense, which generally for first-time offenses of this type, we send warning letters, but this was so egregious that we did go outside of the penalty matrix, and we secured a $600 administrative penalty on that individual. We basically had him dead to rights and couldn't really mount a positive defense for his case. So those are the disciplinary orders. There's one of the last 2 CWD appeals of our quarantine orders did get a final order. This was after a long time of waiting and trying to get the opposing attorney to agree that their appeal was basically moot because we dismissed the quarantine order, basically transferred that case to Parks and Wildlife. There were no exotics on that premises. We actually went to a hearing, and at the hearing, the petitioner in that case agreed finally that the case was moot, and the administrative law judge granted the motion to dismiss. And so this is just the final order to completely dispose of that case. The one remaining case, the argument is the same. It's the same attorney. I'm trying to get them to agree to dismiss the case. The good thing on that one, it's good and bad, there is no hearing set. So it's basically whenever she gets around to getting with her client and getting them to agree to dismiss their appeal, I'll bring that final order before the commission as well. So these are the individuals. That final order for the appeal was Mr. Rodney Parrish, and all of the others are the disciplinary orders. And with that, we recommend the following motion. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt the final orders under agenda item number 14 as presented here today.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Not all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by no. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next will be consideration of and possible action on the adoption of proposed rules. Ms. Penny May.
Good morning. I'm Penny Maley. I'm a staff attorney here. First up is adoption of a proposed rule from last meeting. The proposal was changes to Chapter 51's entry requirements, specifically to add a definition for dairy cattle. The proposal would include USDA's definition in our own rules, and also clarify requirements for dairy cattle and dairy crosses entering Texas. So our program record staff is responsible for permitting. Noticed there was some confusion surrounding what animals were encompassed in the meaning of dairy cattle and whether certain dairy crosses needed to be tested prior to entry. So the proposal adds this definition for clarity and hopefully to cut down on some of the confusion. We published the rule in the December 5th, 2025 issue of the Texas Register for a 30-day comment window. During that comment window, we received one comment from the Livestock Marketing Association, which expressed its appreciations for our efforts to create a specific definition for dairy cattle, but shared its concerns that the proposed definitions includes offspring of a breed. Staff reviewed the comment and the concerns that this definition may increase the number of animals covered by our dairy rules. LMA's concern was that it might have a impact on costs. Staff is recommending no changes to our proposal based on this comment because the adoption of the USDA's definition does not represent a change in our procedures. We've already been applying the USDA's definition to our interpretation of dairy cattle and which animals are included in that definition. This is just a codification of that interpretation. So with that, staff recommends the commission adopt the following motion.
Excuse me, Commissioner Payne, I have a question. So I was reading Trudy's definitions last night, and the CBIs, we clearly state they're good for 30 days, right?
Yes.
So the permits, there is an expiration, right? They're printed on the card, and they differ, as my understanding, from federal to state. So would we not need to say that a permit would expire based on?
I think this might be for our next section for our, we've got two chapter 51 rules up. This one's for adoption of our definition of dairy cattle.
Okay.
And then we've got a proposal for the vet care permits, which I think is where your question falls.
Sorry then.
That's okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt amendments to chapter 51 entitled entry requirements, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, requirements, with changes that are necessary to the proposed text that's published in the December 5th, 2025, EU regulations.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or any further questions? I think on this item, there's I need to ask, are there comments from the public, but I had my one signed up that I know of to speak. Okay, all in favor of that motion, then signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, by no. The motion passes unanimously. Next item will be consideration of and possible action on proposed rules. Again, the Painted Native.
Okay, so this is also a chapter 51 amendment, specifically for our CVI exceptions. So the amendment would expand the veterinary care permit exception to include cattle, bison, and camelids. And it eliminates a duplicate exception for equine entering for sale at a livestock market to first be consigned to a veterinary clinic for issuance of a CVI. So the lay of the land of our rules now is that all animals entering Texas must be accompanied by a CVI unless a specific exception exists. In 51.3 E1, there is a veterinary care exception for equine only. This vet care exception allows equine to enter Texas without a CVI and travel directly to a vet clinic for treatment on a Animal Health Commission issued permit. These animals, once they're treated, must then be returned immediately to their state of origin. The proposed amendment would allow, expand that vet care exception to cattle, bison, and camelids in the same way that we currently allow equine to enter. We've seen with our road stop investigators that we've got ranchers just outside of Texas who have vet clinics closer but inside of Texas that routinely use our vets for dehorning, castration, that kind of issue. But they don't have an avenue to come in right now without a CVI. And so we end up with a lot of non-compliant cases because of that. So this proposed amendment would allow and encourage expanded access to our Texas veterinarians while still maintaining disease traceability under that permit. The second part of the proposed amendment is to eliminate language that is a duplicative exception. So in that same section 51.3B1, there's language that allows equine entering the state for sale at a livestock market to first go to a vet clinic for issuance of a CVI. Our commission staff do not use that exception. Instead, we use a almost identical exception that's found in a different part of our rules, 51.13, that allows equine entering for sale at a livestock market to first move directly to an EIA approved lab or vet clinic for testing and a CVI. So although we are eliminating text of an exception, the exception still remains for the public to use. And it is more in line with what our commission staff is currently using to track and monitor these movements.
Why wouldn't you have included swine and sheep?
Yep. So we compared it to the USDA's rules, and we are limited about which species we can include because the USDA has some limits of their own. So currently, they allow cattle, bison. They allow poultry, which I think is interesting given the high path, and they also allow equine. They do not have a vet care exception in USDA's rules for sheep or swine. So that's why we didn't include sheep or swine in these amendments.
I mean, we encounter this almost daily with livestock coming in of Mexico coming in our practice. Because you take Clovis, there's hardly anybody that does any work from a food animal or livestock perspective in Clovis, even though it's a much bigger city. So we see a ton of these clients coming in.
Yeah, so originally our first draft did include those species. And when we cross-referenced the CFR, the federal regulations, they just did not have an exception for those species, which is why we removed it from ours. But it was something I know our road stop investigators have kind of said the same thing specifically about swine. They see show pigs come in from across state borders for vet care. But without the federal regulations allowing that, we're kind of hamstrung on it.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we propose the amendments to Chapter 51 titled Entry Requirements located in Title 4 of the Texas Administrative Code, but changes as necessary to the proposed text. I further move that the notice of the proposed amendment be published in the Texas Register with a 30-day comment period.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Not all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed by no. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is presentation of awards and recognitions. And while we're on that subject, I'm going to go off the record here just a little bit. I want to say a kind word about Amanda Bernhardt and her efforts to furnish us with refreshments. They're always outstanding, Amanda, and we thank you for doing that. And somebody, you may have more people doing it than just you, but if so, I give all of y'all credit for doing that because it's so nice for y'all to do that and have that available for us. We have a great award this morning, and I'm going to ask that Miss Donna Mahalke come forward and stand here in front of you while I talk about her. Donna Mahalke began her career with the Texas Animal Health Commission in July of 1990 as an inspector, and today she continues to serve the agency as our most tenured senior training specialist, celebrating an incredible milestone of 35 years. A proud graduate of Carleton State University, Donna earned her degree in agricultural education and animal husbandry. Before joining TAHC, she gained hands-on industry experience at Refinery Road Veterinary Clinic in Gainesville, where her passion for animal health and welfare first took root. During her early years as a TAHC inspector, Donna conducted inspections at assigned markets, participated in brucellosis testing by collecting blood and milk supplies, and provided vital education to veterinarians and auction markets on animal disease, regulations, and compliance requirements. Her dedication to accuracy, communication, and public service quickly set her apart. As she transitioned into a training role, Donna became an invaluable resource to the agency. Her extensive field knowledge has shaped the development and delivery of critical training programs for inspectors, including serving as a poultry expert, teaching biosecurity practices and emergency response readiness. Her leadership and expertise continue to strengthen TAHC's operational capabilities. Most recently, Donna has played a key role in the agency response to emerging issues such as New World screwworms, providing essential training and ensuring staff are prepared to address evolving challenges. Her commitment to excellence, mentorship, and the mission of TAHC has left a lasting impact on countless colleagues across the state. We are deeply appreciative and truly blessed to have Donna on our team. Her 35 years of service reflect not only her professional skill and dedication, but also her unwavering commitment to protecting Texas livestock and supporting the people who care for them. We celebrate this remarkable milestone and are grateful she continues to share her talents with us today. And Donna, we hope you're here for another 35 years. I think everybody knows Donna. She is a class act from the word go. And let's give her a big hand. Can't pick it up. Donna, we present this to you. Here's an additional little something that you can wear every day. Thank you, Donna. Congratulations. I've never seen her at a loss for words.
I do.
I'll say a word. Yes, you do. Donna was the very first Animal Health Commission inspector I ever met as a third-year vet student, working horse shows in Fort Worth, Texas. And so certainly all the things that were stated in your description there of professionalism and positive impression certainly made an impact, and certainly is one of the reasons why I'm glad to be associated in working with the Animal Health Commission today. So thank you, Donna.
And I'd like to echo Dr. Langford. If you look up dedication in the dictionary, you'll see the picture of Donna. I promise you that. And she truly rides for the brand of the Texas Animal Health Commission. And she has so many relationships developed with our Texas poultry industry that I can't thank her enough for the relationship she has developed with them. And she continues to foster those each and every day. And everything you do each and every day for this agency is a godsend, and I know that. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate what she is. Thank you.
So I will say something. It's a blessing to be here. When you love animal agriculture and you get a chance to have a career that allows you to work with the foundational people of this industry day in, day out, it is a true blessing and it's been a privilege. I'm excited to be here. Yay.
There's one more item on the agenda, and that's public comment, and I understand there's no one signed up for any public comment, so I will now adjourn this meeting and thank everyone for your participation.